Hey friend, welcome to Calligraphy Biz Corner, where we spill the ink on our real life experiences as creative biz owners.
We're your hosts, Alane and Shaochen, full-time wedding calligraphers and business educators with over a decade of experience working with wedding, luxury, and corporate clients, and we've mentored hundreds of calligraphers just like you.
And we're in your corner. Let's uncover the business that supports the life that you want and leave the overwhelm and imposter syndrome behind. Grab your coffee and notebook and let's dive in.
Welcome back to Calligraphy Biz Corner. Today's episode is actually going to be a little bit different because we are going to use it to fill you in on our summer plans for the podcast and share some really important updates and some exciting updates with you. We believe in full transparency here. And as Shaochen and I were kind of discussing like what our plans for the second half of the year are for this podcast, we decided that it's really important to keep all of you in the loop about what we're working on, what we're planning behind the scenes, and keep you involved in our larger thoughts and goals for this passion project.
So a quick recap of where we are so far and where you've come with us. We're 6 months in, and this is our 13th episode. We started this podcast back in January of 2024, not knowing anything about podcasts other than having listened to them before. And we didn't know where it would lead. Obviously, we had some hopes, but we didn't know how it was going to turn out. We didn't know technically how to record episodes, what software to use, how to edit or publish them, or really become producers of a podcast. And we didn't even know if it was something that we would like doing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to like look back at just 6 months ago and be like, oh my gosh, we're in like such a different place than we were in January.
Yeah, for sure.
So even though we didn't know any of those things, we decided to just go for it and give it a shot anyways and see what happened. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I can say like it's been better than anything I could have imagined. Like it's connected us to so many new calligraphers in our community. It's strengthened old relationships. I feel like it's built our relationship together as friends and business partners. And I think it's pretty safe to say that we've hopefully improved our communication and our teaching skills through this platform. Even just we're recording this right after our episode with Kara of the Kara Report. And I'm even thinking like, I just learned so much about SEO from her podcast. So like, it's so cool how we're learning and growing along with this podcast.
Totally.
So yeah, it's been a really exciting creative outlet for us this year. And it's just been really rewarding to hear how it's helped your businesses. You know, we really appreciate every single DM, comment, message, or text that you've been sending us and sharing your thoughts. So we're just so happy that we've been able to bring this out into the calligraphy community this year.
In these past 6 months, we've had more than 2,000 listens of our show, thanks to you. So again, we really appreciate all the support that you've shown us and all of the outreach that you've given us and encouragement to keep going. Alane and I recently blocked off some time to just evaluate how things have been going with this podcast. You know, it's clear to us that we love doing it. Like Alane just said, I think it's brought us more than we could have imagined. And that you, as our audience, you're loving it as well. So we've decided we want to continue investing more of our time, our energy, our resources into this podcast. We want to keep putting out thoughtful, informative content because it's really important to us that this is valuable for you. And because of that, we want to take on a big project for this podcast to actually build out a more centralized hub for our community of listeners, for you. So in order for us to keep going and tackle this big project, we have to slow down for a little bit. And I believe in this idea of like, sometimes you need to slow down in order to speed up. Sometimes you need to build foundational pieces. You need to lay the groundwork for things that are going to enable you to go faster in the future. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I feel like this idea of slowing down to speed up. I mean, we talked a lot about this and we had our kind of check-in call a couple weeks ago, but I feel like this is something that's kind of become a bit of a mantra in my business over the past couple of years, whether it's like taking on less weddings so that I can focus on other things or, you know, put more time and energy into my current clients and really build up that service. or have the time and space to create this podcast or focus on business mentoring. And it's like the only way that I've been able to do those things is by saying no to other things or pushing pause or just like slowing down the speed of other things that are going on in my business or my life in order to make room. So as we were chatting, we just realized that with our current recording and production schedules, as well as our individual businesses and client work, like we're also going into wedding season right now. As much as we would like to believe that we are super women, which we are, there's just not a way for us to do it all and do all of it really well. So because we are currently bootstrapping this podcast, we're doing all of the recording, editing, producing, marketing of it ourselves. We have to make some decisions of what ideas and what, strategies to prioritize so that we can actually start to tackle some of these like bigger ideas and projects and goals. So all of that being said, as of today's episode, we are going to be taking a short summer break. I feel like everybody likes to take a break in the summer. I'm in vacation mode right now, even though I'm not going anywhere. So I feel like it's coming at a good time, this little break. But this episode today is going to be our last episode until September. But you can rest assured that we will definitely be back and better than ever on our bi-weekly schedule for the remainder of the year.
And in the background, we will still be busy working away on this podcast. So here's some things we'll be working on. Our main project is to build out a website where you can find all of our episodes, you can find all of our show notes, and also some blog posts about the content on our show if you prefer to read the main points. And we think this will be really helpful not only to our current listeners, but also in reaching more calligraphers who might not have discovered our show yet and could benefit from what we have to share. And we also want to think about how we can feature more listeners on our show. We've gotten some interest and outreach from people who want to be guests on our show. And so we want to launch an application form so you can be considered as a guest and have like a more formal process in place for that.
Yeah, and we also want to just kind of get ahead a little bit on planning some future episode ideas, taking the time to find some experts for topics that we know you're really interested in learning about, like Instagram marketing. That's been a big one that's been popping up. And lastly, you know that we're big fans of data around here. So we also want to take this time over the summer to just kind of realign ourselves and get your feedback. Your input is super valuable to us because it's what helps us ensure that we are producing content that you actually want and that we are serving you as best as we possibly can. So we've created a short feedback form and we're linking that in the show notes. So we would really appreciate it if you could just take a few minutes of your time to fill that out for us. We're super excited to hear what you loved most about the show and what you would like to see in the future, in the second half of 2024 and beyond. So as much as we'd love to keep recording and releasing new episodes throughout the summer, we know that keeping up this schedule will actually hold us back from checking off some of those bigger projects. Even in our own businesses, we're just such big fans of being able to like take a minute to realign, to check in, to make sure that we're on the right track before we just like continue plowing forward. And we see this summer break as a time for us to be able to do that.
Yeah, it feels a little scary, especially, as a fledgling new podcast to be announcing that we're going on a break. And as we were chatting about these like big ideas that we have, it honestly didn't even cross my mind that taking a break was an option until you suggested it, Alane. So I love that you kind of pushed us to think about we have limited time, energy, resources. How do we want to spend it? What's the most important thing we could be doing for the podcast right now? And we really believe that this is it, taking the break so we can work on some of the bigger ideas that we have. And it is just a good reminder that as the co-hosts of this podcast, we get to make those decisions and we get to call the shots, just like in our businesses too. We get to decide what works for us. And I think if you listen to our last episode with Kara, she talks about how she has two businesses and they served her in different seasons of her life. And so it's important to always like take a beat and just evaluate, is this still serving me right now? Is this still the most important thing for me right now? And make the decisions like that.
We definitely struggled with this decision because a lot of fears come up, right? Like, what if we lose listeners by taking a break? Or what if we miss out on an exciting opportunity? Or what if this podcast becomes irrelevant and just completely forgotten over the next 2 months? But I do believe that whatever is meant for us won't pass us by. And we both strongly believe in this podcast. We're so grateful that you, our lovely listeners, believe in it too. And sometimes breaks are just necessary in order to come back more creative, more focused, and more energized than ever before. So there's real power in slowing down and just realigning with your values and your priorities, creating a new plan of action, and then jumping back in the game. So, like we said, this is not goodbye. This is just going to be a little summer break until September. Don't be strangers. Keep DMing us your feedback or your questions or your topic suggestions on Instagram. You can still text the show because I think we definitely still want to do like Ask Us Anything style episode, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, and we'll be sharing updates on what we're working on, as well as like some favorite moments revisiting past episodes on our Instagram. So definitely keep connected with us there. And then, yeah, before you sign off, we would love it if you could please just go to the show notes right now, take that short survey, because that's really going to help us plan strategically for September through December. And like I said, into 2025.
Well, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a great summer. We can't wait to talk to you soon.
We're going to be like, thanks so much for listening and like, have a great summer. HAGS.
What's HAGS?
Didn't you used to write that like in your yearbook? You would just write like HAGS.
Oh my God, I'm not going to say that's in a data.
That should be the title of this episode. HAGS.
Wait, that'd be so.
And only millennials will understand it.
Thanks for listening to our show. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us wherever you're listening and leave us a quick rating.
And don't forget, you can find us on Instagram at Calligraphy Biz Corner and send us a DM to let us know how you're liking the show. Until next time, keep the ink flowing and the dreams growing.